Well, a New York Times columnist rushing to the defense President Obama after he claimed that the savagery of radical Islam started with Christians and that they should get off their high horse.
I'm totally pro-Obama on this. I think he said the right thing. Listen, it was a gospel of humility.
Joining me now with his reaction, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, author of God, Guns, Grits, and Gravy. Governor, good morning to you.
Good morning, Elizabeth. The very comments that President Obama made are nothing short of shocking. How on earth he could go back 1,000 years in history and pick up something that Christians did in response to Muslim aggression and somehow blame Christians for the burning of a Jordanian pilot, for the cutting off the heads of children who were Christians. It's just absolutely stunning to me.
Sure. You know, I think a lot of people are upset, too, because there was something that was happening at the same time. Not only was he having the audacity to get out and name Christians somehow and having anything to do with what happened last week and the week before, but also not naming radical Islam for what it is. So not having the courage to call out the true enemy that lit the match, that burned a man alive, yet calling out Christianity. And you say?
He never once in his speech said we are fighting against Islamic jihadism. He never even said that these people are a perversion of Islam, even though everyone who is in the fight says it is, everyone except Barack Obama. He also brought in Jim Crow laws as if it was Christians who were responsible for racism in America. I think he's forgetting that it was the Christian movement led by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who resisted racism, and many of the most staunch voices that helped to bring this country in a whole new understanding of racial justice were voices from the pulpits. And in fact, it was the pulpits of America. Yeah, some of them were wrong, but many of them were the ones who brought the conscience of the nation to get this right. The same thing with slavery. This president has a high horse himself. It's his teleprompter. And what was shocking about this speech, this wasn't an ad-lib, off-the-cuff remark. This was scripted. He knew what he wanted to say, and how anybody, whether they're with the New York Times or anyone, can hear that speech and say, yep, that pretty well accurately reflected what's happening in the world. Elizabeth, I just can't even begin to fathom how they could defend it.
Sure. Two things. Some would say, Governor, that in not naming radical Islam for what it is, it actually protects the real enemy. And secondly, you know, the circle of influence around the president have a lot of people concerned here. You know, he met with the group of initially unnamed Muslim leaders in the community here. Do you think that influenced his speech and why he was so protective of some, but yet not of others?
I don't think that meeting influenced him. I think he's already influenced. I mean, everything he does is against what Christians stand for, and he's against the Jews in Israel. The one group of people that can know they have his undying, unfailing support would be the Muslim community. And it doesn't matter whether it's the radical Muslim community or the more moderate Muslim community. He can be defensive of moderate Muslims and still be very, very clear in saying that the fanatical Muslims are the heart and soul of the war that is raging across this world. And unlike what he said when he said that it was the most dangerous threat in our nation right now in the State of the Union, the truth is, he said that our greatest threat was climate change. Elizabeth, I assure you that a beheading is much worse than a sunburn, and this president couldn't watch a Western from the 50s and know the difference between the good guys and the bad guys, even if John Wayne was starring in the film. That's just how bad it is for him to perceive what our real threat is.
Yeah, it's disturbing, and moderate Muslims are waiting for the president to draw the separation in line there. Governor Mike Huckabee, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Elizabeth.